Halfway through the season, and the Flames are sitting in a playoff spot. And is Dustin Wolf the Calder Trophy favorite right now? Hey everyone, welcome into Hot Topics. This episode brought to you by ProStars Plumbing and Heating, Calgary's first choice when it comes to plumbing and heating. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Postmedia Calgary Flames writer Wes Gilbertson. And Wes, the Flames right now in a playoff position, somewhere I don't think many people thought they would be at the start of the season, but it's been quite a journey to get to this point. What have you liked from the Flames so far this year, and maybe what haven't you liked here at the midway point?
Yeah, if you told me back in September that the Flames would be in a playoff spot at the halfway point of their season, we wouldn't have needed a laugh track. I could have provided that myself. I didn't think they'd be as awful as some people did, but I certainly didn't have them in a wild card spot in mid-January. And so good on them for that. I think the biggest thing to like is just sort of the identity. And I know that's so cliche in hockey, but this is a team that knows how they have to win games. And for those of us who have been following the Flames a while, there are seasons that you would say that, hey, okay, these guys really know what they have to do or what they have to be. But there's seasons that you wouldn't. And, I think one of the admirable things about this group has been the buy-in right since day one on exactly how they're going to have to win hockey games. And yet, in saying that, there's been a lot of comparisons in this market to the 2014-15 Flames. That was a group that nobody thought had a sniff of a playoff shot. They not only got in, but went to the second round. They're known around here as the find-away Flames because of all the comeback victories and all the rabbits they basically pulled out of the hat. And, one of the things I've been thinking about in the past couple of weeks or past few weeks is, that group around the midway mark of the season, I remember thinking, I don't know if anything else could be going right for these guys. I don't know if there's been very much all season that has worked against them. And yet you wouldn't say that about this current group of Flames. And I think it's what gives you the most optimism if you're a fan for what could come next. I mean, they can't score in the first period of games. Last night in St. Louis was the 20th time in 43 games that they didn't have a goal in the first. They have 27 first period goals this season, last in the NHL. That's something they need to address. The penalty kill has really struggled. I didn't check the stats this morning, but it's been around, the bottom 5 of the league for quite some time. There's room for improvement here, and yet there they are sitting in a playoff spot. And I think that's pretty darn impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the other cool parts of the season so far has been the play of a lot of the young kids, whether it's a Matt Coronado or Connor Zary, who, of course, is injured right now. But that has opened the door here for a guy like Rory Kerins, who's played a couple of games in the NHL. And I know for me, I always love it when guys score in their first NHL games. It's always a pretty cool moment to say you've done that, especially doing it in front of your parents, of course. But what have you made of his impact so far in these first few games?
Yeah, it's one thing to score in your first game, but how about an assist on your first shift in the NHL? Rory Kerins had been on the ice for 12 seconds. His first puck touch, he carried the puck through the neutral zone, dished off to Jacob Pelche, who scored on Chicago's Peter Mrazek, and suddenly 12 seconds into his NHL career, Rory Kerins has his first point. He gets another assist. That's one of those nights, I'll remember. Forget Rory Kerins and his family and his biggest supporters. I'm going to remember that Rory Kerins got a point on his first NHL shift. This just doesn't happen. He's the first Flames player with multiple assists in his first NHL game since Sergei Makarov came over from the old Soviet Union in 1989. We're talking about pretty ancient history there. And so a really cool debut, albeit against a team in the Chicago Blackhawks that probably had a lot of guys similar to who he was playing against in the American Hockey League. That is a bad Blackhawks team, a little more quiet for Rory Kerins last night in St. Louis. A heavier team. We know that those matchups are going to be tough. The Blues have a bunch of guys who've been patrolling an NHL blue line for a decade plus. Those are tough matchups on a kid who just got called up to the NHL, but still a point per game guy 2 games in. It seems pretty darn good, doesn't it?
Yeah, making it look pretty easy there in that first game. But like you said, there's going to be some ups and downs. Of course, the other young guy that we sort of left out of the conversation, and maybe he's been the best, but that's Dustin Wolf, who on the season has now put himself into that conversation for the Calder Trophy. You know, me, and Danny talked about it earlier this year, but the resume has started to build here with him. When you stack him up against the other rookies around the league, whether it's a Macklin Celebrini or Matvei Michkov or, of course, Lane Hudson in Montreal, where do you think Dustin Wolf is in this Calder Trophy convo?
Yeah, right now he'd be in my top three for sure, and I'm fortunate to have a vote. You know, Macklin Celebrini, who's just shy of a point per game as an 18-year-old on a bad team. That's really darn impressive what Lane Hudson has done, especially lately in Montreal. And, you know, similar to Brock Faber, who was a Calder finalist a year ago, like the minutes played are way up there. But you have to look at Dustin Wolf. I mean, when you look at just the points percentage, the Calgary Flames have picked up almost a 700 clip with Dustin Wolf in net. And this wasn't a Calgary Flames team, as we covered earlier, that was supposed to steamroll through this season by any stretch. And so when you look at the numbers, not only talking goalies, or not only, talking rookie goalies, but just talking goalies in general, he's in a pretty good spot. If you look at 5-on-5 save percentage, as I did a few days ago, he was 1 point better than Connor Hellebuck, who's rolling towards another Vezina. And so, you know, I don't know that Dustin Wolf is the favorite today, but I could tell you what would immediately make him the favorite, and that would be leading the Calgary Flames to an unexpected playoff start. We're going to see him get more and more starts here down the stretch. He's simply outplaying Dan Vladar, and if Dustin Wolf can be the reason that the Flames are in a wild card position in April, then I think he rockets to the top of the ballots. But even without that, he's got to be getting a really, really long look from voters.
Well, you mentioned Sergei Makarov earlier, and that was the last time a Flames player won the Calder Trophy, but he was 31, so maybe not the same situation.
They changed the rules because of him.
Yeah.
Now you can't be over 25. The other history, I don't know if it's working against Dustin Wolf, but it's been a long time since a goalie won this award. Steve Mason in 2008-09 would be the last time. We haven't even seen very many goalies on the ballot, but I think Dustin Wolf might be about to change that.
Absolutely. We'll see what happens here in the second half of the season. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments section below. For Wes Gilbertson, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.